Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we're discussing something that is rare and fine and fun. It's the FP Journe lineSport Centigraphe Sport in titanium. These were made, as you see them here, 42 millimeters in tie from 2014 until 2018 when the 44s took over the collection. Now, what a lot of people believe is that the aluminum watches, because they came first and were discontinued, they must be more collectible. But reality is that Journe actually made more of the aluminum lineSport watches than he did the titanium ones. So on a scarcity basis, these are actually a little bit more collectible. So the watch is 42 millimeters in diameter, and you can see that the lineSport watches always had a distinct case. These are not the souverain, and they're more classical round case with traditional lugs. The watch is nice and slim and easy to wear, 42 in diameter, 11.4 thick, and then from one side of the case to the opposite side, 49 millimeters across, a really good fit on a smaller wrist, especially since it is so light. With this full uncut strap, I put it on my scale, and it measured 66 grams. So for those of us in the old colonies, that's just a little bit over 2 ounces. Throwing it on the wrist, my wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference, an absolute pleasure to wear. Normally when a watch is 49 lug-to-lug, I wouldn't recommend it for ladies, but I actually think that on most female wrists, this will wear quite well because it is so light and the strap is so flexible. It'll also fit under a dress cuff, so if you want to wear it formally, you can absolutely do that. Taking a look at the strap, you can see it is a custom piece. It says lineSport, it's matte finished, it has a little molded streak down the center. It is a strap that you cut to size, and we will take care of that for you, no problems whatsoever, guaranteeing a fit. It has a little FP Journe monogram on the inside, and then we've got a clasp, which is made of titanium, and you can see it features these little spring-loaded ball-bearing pin snaps to maintain crispness, and then rubber on the outside to prevent gouging. Taking a quick look at the case itself, it also has rubber bumpers on its side as well as on its crown and chronograph trigger. It's a media blast matte finish, and it is titanium, but then it has this anthracite coating on top, which is pretty durable. This one here has only a few little marks to show careful wear over the years it has existed. Keep in mind, all these watches are now minimally 11 years old, so this is an excellent degree of preservation here. And you can see there's a very subtle bevel that runs all the way around. You can also see that the bezel gasket is fully expressed as a styling feature of the watch. You can see some little scuffs on the bezel. And the bezel gasket here, a little bit like a Royal Oak offshore, something that's visible to make the watch seem sportier. And sporty it is. You can see Journe's distinctive double dimple, knurled and unbranded crown. We know exactly who made that. It doesn't need a name on it, doesn't need a logo. And one of 2 items that are actually patented on this watch, this reversing rocker. So this is actually a double trigger chronograph that can be operated with one finger like a mono pusher. And the reason it's a double trigger is you can stop it, but you can also then restart it. And you can't restart from a stop with a mono pusher. You have to reset. It's a lot of fun, by the way, to reset, especially with the 1-second foudroyant. Taking a quick look, it's a little bit of a theater to reset this watch. So inside the watch, it's still all aluminum. So the case went to titanium in 2014. There were some problems with the aluminum. It was a difficult thing to make. It was very expensive. There was a high rejection rate. And in some cases, there were little pitting problems where there was some light corrosion. Not very serious, but enough that Journe decided to go with titanium. However, because they are not exposed to the elements, the dial and the movement in the titanium watches are still made of aluminum. They're also still luminescent. One of the most attractive features of the lineSport watches from this era, that they do have luminescence, and you can read them in the dark. If you look carefully at the numerals, you can see they're actually 3-dimensional blocks of lume that are applied to the dial. They're not printed on. We also have Journe's distinctive bezel for the sub-registers, here with a media blast matte finish and Journe's distinctive dial side assembly screws. There's an off-white cream-colored chemin de fer, or railroad track, for reading the minutes. Note the way the size of the numerals, which are Journe's distinctive font, they actually ebb and flow as they arc around the obstructions on the dial. We also have Journe's distinctive sort of tapered hands and smoked sapphires. So on a standard Centigraphe Souverain, we have solid dials with little tachymetric scales, but the tachymetric scales are so small as to be almost useless. So Journe rightly decided he didn't need them on the lineSport, opening up the dial and allowing a sapphire disc to be used for each subdial, so now you can see the underlying mechanism, including the super high frequency 50 hertz 100 beat per second secondary escapement that powers the foudroyant. So that is a 1/100th of a second dial. It makes a circuit every second, but it can discern an interval as small as 1/100th. It is the namesake of the watch Centigraphe. So this is a 1-second dial, this is a 20-second dial, and this is a 10-minute dial. And in each instance, you could see the underlying mechanism. Turning it all over, you can see the rest of the aluminum caliber 1506. So 15 is the size in French line of the movement. 06 is the year work started on the movement, and this movement in the original Centigraphe Souverain helped that watch win the Aiguille d'Or, or Aiguille d'Or, excuse me. The Aiguille d'Or is the golden needle or golden hand at the Oscars of watchmaking, the GPHG. GPHG Aiguille d'Or is like winning Best Picture at the Oscars, and this was the movement that did it. It's a big movement too. 15 French line is not a small thing. Casing up diameter of this movement, 34.4 millimeters, all aluminum, barrel at the center, manual wind. It is a little bit weird. You actually wind it with the crown in the second position. So first position, nothing happens. Second position is where you wind, and then the third position is actually how you set the time. So just keep that in mind if you have one of these and you're trying to figure it out. Now, it uses a column wheel for function selection, so it is a crisp chronograph actuation, 3 hertz escapement. We have one that's 3 hertz or 6 beats per second, and then one that's 50 hertz or 100 per second. So 2 different heartbeats. Free sprung, you can see it features a free sprung balance that allows to make all the timing adjustments using eccentric weights on the balance rim for fine-tuning. It's more accurate than a mobile stud index, really allows for very precise adjustment and great shock resistance. The barrel's at center, 80 hours of power reserve. If the chronograph's off, that goes down to 24 if the chronograph's running, but because the largest register is only 10 minutes, you don't really need to leave it running full-time. Also important to note, the second patented item on this watch is the way the drivetrains are driven. So the toothed edge of the barrel drives the hands at center, and then the arbor of the barrel, or the axle on the opposite side of the barrel, that drives the chronograph functions. So when you start up the chronograph, because there are 2 different drivetrains, you don't lose any balance amplitude and the watch doesn't slow down. You do lose power reserve, but the dual train system, which is patented, ensures that the watch doesn't slow when you start the chronograph, and that's very important. There's all 30 meters water resistant, so don't actually take it swimming. It's more of a very sporty Journe than a true take it in the water sports Journe. Though I've seen people do it without consequence, I still don't recommend it given the collectability and value of the watch. And of course, we do have an aluminum movement with a nickel anthracite coating. Just like we have a nickel anthracite coating ruthenium on the dial, we've got it on the movement. But make sure you don't make any mistakes. Both movement and dial are aluminum, contributing to this very light watch and nicely decorated. Not the most elaborate decoration, but it is still horlogerie and still equal to the billing of the watch. Rare and collectible and a lot of fun to own. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.